So you wish to know more of the Black Chamber, do you, my friend? Ooh, well, that is a dangerous question to ask. After all, the less you know about them, the better for you. However, I confess I may be able to at least inform you a little, if only to broaden your scope on the workings of the Empire. They are, in many ways, the Emperor's secret right hand, those who dwell in the shadows and defend us from the dangers within those shadows. Brave folk who risk their lives to ensure the safety of the Empire from those who would harm it, not through military might, but intrigue and political manipulation. If you are a Sigma-fearing righteous citizen of the Empire, well, you have nothing to fear. But if you are spying for an enemy nation, or, worse, consorting with the damned powers themselves, well, you best beware, my friend. Of course, their agents have come to me from time to time for my vast knowledge, especially in some darker matters. Otherwise, I am afraid I cannot tell you how to find them. But I can assure you, if they want to find you, well, it's only a matter of time, my friend. Only a matter of time. This is Red Moon Role-Playing. The night is getting stranger and stranger. After our three heroes have discussed their potential future, whether to continue to flee from these mysterious assailants in the night, or whether to confront them directly, which may indeed be more beneficial to them, they now find themselves in a very odd situation. You are all standing in front of a sewer grate, very small, you'd have to be a quite small individual to squeeze through there, and looking down into a sewer where a goblin has just caused a big ruckus in the tavern you were in, the Journey's End, and then run into this sewer. Just as you're all catching your breath, you see the man from earlier, this man with a top hat, catch up with you. He's just a little ahead of the guards themselves. Again, he's wearing this very nice purple top hat, a nice brown coat. He has silvery hair, possibly at his 40s or 50s. You also then see, coming from another angle, a dwarven man. This dwarven man has pale skin, a big black beard, he's got a pike on his back, he's got a little square black hat. He's coming very slowly, just grumbling to himself. The man with the top hat looks at you all and says, "Oh dear, oh, did he? What happened? Did he go down there? He went down there, did he? Oh, cripes."
Yes, I don't think you'll fit down with that hat on.
No, I won't be getting down there, but, oh, hang on. He looks around and sees the guards approaching and says very quickly to you, Kruger, "Listen, just go along with everything I say, and there'll be a couple of silvers in it for you. Come on, friend, we're friends, right?
I, give him a wink with my eye and show, yeah, I'll play along.
The guards catch up. "Gods, by Sigma, what happened? Where did the beast go? You there, you three, what happened? What did you see?"
I mean, I'm sort of whistling and looking around as if I should be here, but being addressed. Oh, they went down into the sewer.
The man comes forward with the top hat. "Yes, that's right. These three wonderful citizens of the Empire did their best to assist me, but unfortunately it seems my property has sadly vacated the premises and gone down into the sewer there. I guess we'll have to go and get it."
Your property?
Yes, exactly. That's one of my lovely, not property, co-star, how would you put it?
Your friend.
At that, the dwarven fellow, catching up, grunts very angrily. "Beast isn't our friend, he's a bloody nuisance." Now, Groony, you say that about all our exhibits, our legal, exciting exhibits. The guard comes forward. "Listen, what? You're saying that thing ran into the sewer system?"
I'm going to give a look to Heinrich and Kruger of clear disappointment at this talk of a sentient being being property, a thing, or a beast. None of this really sits right with me, this carnival-type fellow with his top hat and his sense of ownership. Oh, and an exhibit to boot. I'm scowling quite openly.
I'm leaning over to Kruger at this point and saying, "Is this the part we're supposed to go along with?"
I think so. Yes. We are gonna help you find him, aren't we, fellas? And aren't we? I say to my companions.
Oh, yes, of course. Happy to serve those who have the coin.
Oh, certainly, friend, certainly. I certainly would be most gracious if you'd assist me. And he's then interrupted by the guard. Now, hang on, no, not so fast, you. Carrying a beast like that. No, we're going to go to the... I know it's late. We're going to the magistrate. You're coming with. Oh, yes, the magistrate, of course. My associates here will definitely defend me in front of the magistrate. Won't you?
What? We're not lawyers.
I don't need a lawyer. I just need someone
I think you do.
Kruger, what do you say? The guy gives you a look and again just reaches into his pocket and just taps something in his pocket.
I get what he means. That is, you don't have to know the gang signs of Nuln to know what that means. He's going to pay us for this, and that's exactly what we need right now. And if there isn't anything more serious going on than him looking for some poor beast that he's enslaved, well, I mean, us at least helping him lie a little bit here, it's not going to be the end of the world. I'm sure there should be coin in it. So I just nod and say, yes, of course, we will be with you, and we will help you.
The man smiles and nods vigorously as the guard and the other guards just look at you and say, "All right, wonderful, whatever. Come on then, off to the magistrate, quickly."
I look to Siegfrieda and Heinrich, and I kind of just shrug.
I shrug back.
I have no choice but to go along at this point, although if this person's looking for legal defense, we're going to have a very amusing time.
Well, while you're thinking that, it seems you're being led by watchmen down the street. This fellow is quite happy, it seems. He leans forward to you, Kruger, and whispers, "Don't worry, it'll all be sorted nice and simple, and then I'll pay you handsomely indeed. Don't worry, just remember, he's harmless, he didn't mean to do nothing, he's a nice boy, really, they're all just overreacting."
Understood.
And you are led, oddly enough, to the east, Siegfrieda. You're not being led to the town hall or even the courthouse, you're being led to the Schaufenfest. As you're led through, you see the festival is finally starting to close down for the day. The festival is not over, of course, but finally, as night comes in and the fog begins to roll in, it seems people are mostly setting up shop for the night. But you are led to a large central tent, which still seems to be open, and you notice there's quite a few watch folk around the area, or at least people armed as such. What are you thinking of this? This is slightly unusual.
I don't like this. We've already walked into one trap today. I'm tired, I'm hungry. I've got a certain shuffling resignation to me right now. I know we're going to go in here. I know we need the coin. But I'm not going to pretend I'm happy about it.
You are all led in to a big tent. There's a bunch of chairs and even a table set up in here. There's a section of the tent that's been closed off, some sort of curtain in the way. The guards leave you for the moment, go to stand at various posts. One of the guards goes and ducks in behind the tent. You see this man quickly remark, "By the way, where are my manners? Allow me to introduce myself. Dr. Malpheus. Dr. Malpheus of Dr. Malpheus' Zoocopia. Pleasure to make your acquaintance, friends. Pleasure indeed."
Oh, well, likewise. Yes, very nice to meet you. I'm Kruger.
Pleasure. And again, madam and sir, don't worry. Just all we need to say is that it's harmless and 3 silvers for each of you. And then we can talk about maybe getting the poor little fellow out of those sewers. It's not very safe for him down there, I'm sure.
No, I wonder what could have driven him down there.
Oh, the problem. Oh, I'll explain later. And at that point, the dwarf just looks at you, Siegfried, and just chuckles like, "What indeed? Scum often seek scum, don't they?"
Well, I'm sure I wouldn't know.
There is a little bit of speaking, and then someone emerges from the back of the tent. They are a large man, probably in their 40s, late 40s. Although they're not fat, just wide, especially their chin. But underneath that, there's a certain leanness to them as well. They're wearing a big, fancy-looking wig made of white golden curls. Their skin is pale, a bit reddish at certain points. They have a couple of boils on their face, and their eyes are very sunken. They look very, very tired. They are also dressed in a very nice tunic. The man comes and sits before you at the table, and gestures for you all to be seated, saying, "Right, okay, my goodness. Literally on the way home, and now not one but two incidences that apparently require my urgent attention. Please have a seat and just explain what's going on. According to my guardsman here, you, Dr. Malpheus of the one of the festival exhibits, a dangerous beast escaped your exhibition and is now running amok in our streets, and also a man somewhere in the city tonight apparently was brutally mauled by a beast. I'm really hoping these things aren't connected." He points at you, Kruger. "You first? What's going on?"
Oh, well, we've been helping Dr. Malpheus here. This creature, it's really harmless. It's just gotten a little scared, and we're trying to get it back to its master.
"I see. Harmless. Again, I have a report from someone... You! A guard summoned for. Didn't you just say there's been something from the north section of town? A man brutally mauled by a beast?" Oh, yes, sir, although I don't know if this is connected. Is it? You. He points at you, Siegfried. Is it connected? This beast, you say, is harmless, but there's been a report tonight of someone being brutally mauled to death in our city.
Have you ever known a goblin to maul someone, sir?
It's a goblin, is it? I don't know what the beast is, madam. You tell me.
Well, in that case, in my considered medical opinion, I would say no. The two are not connected.
Right, well, that's something then.
Unless this is a creature and they have been known when touched by chaos to be able, and I start drifting into academic territory, to be able to shift form and sprout tusks or claws. Some were witnessed some time back on the road from Middenheim, as I remember it. Individuals, poor lost souls, completely out of control of their faculties and bodily shapes. It was tragic.
The
really,
individual, Dr. Malpheus, apparently interrupts you saying, "What my associate's saying, what she means to say is that that's got nothing to do with my poor little exhibition. He would never maul anyone, and also I've got several witnesses. Did you see that, the goblin, mauling someone in the northeast town? We were in the southeast part of town."
No.
Excellent. There you go. You see, and they've already said, my lord, is that the right term, my lord? Magistrate will do. Yes, magistrate. There you go. You see, that they're going to solve the problem. They've already agreed to it, and you don't need to worry yourself. Is this true? You have offered to apprehend this beast. Apparently it's gone into the sewers. We'll need someone to show you the way in, but actually that would be very, very appreciated. You will be compensated, of course.
Of course, yes. Be happy to.
Well, there you have it. You see one of the guards coming forward and saying, "Well, hang on a minute, magistrate, is that really all that..." Silence. I'm tired and I'm bored. Sorry, who are you, free? What were your names, just for the records?
My name's... Yes, I'll give my name.
Okay, Kruger, Siegfried, and Heinrich. Lovely names. Wonderful. Well, in that case, in my provincial power as the magistrate of Bogenhafen for this Schaffenfest, yes, you will be given, say, 5 gold crowns for proof of this beast's either capture or demise. And meanwhile, the City Watch will continue to patrol the city and see if it is somewhere else. We'll get someone to show you the way into the sewers. And wonderful, I don't really care what happens next. Just sort it out, please.
We aim to keep it that way. This will not be a burden for you anymore.
Wonderful. You're all dismissed. And with just that, you're dismissed. It seems this magistrate is very tired. What did the three of you do?
It is a difficult job, after all. Well, I look to my companions and to Dr. Malthius. And I suppose we were going to be shown an entrance to the sewers. Was that it?
Indeed, Dr. Malthius comes forward when you're outside the tent and reaches to shake your hand. Listen, sorry for throwing you in there, friends, but again, look, this fella, he goes to you, Heinrich. You've got a big weapon on you. I'm sure a little, what's going to be in the sewer? A rat or two? Listen, I know he's giving you 5 gold crowns, but I'm going to give you another 5 gold crowns, alright? Just get on it, make sure he's safe, and I'd appreciate it, because I don't think this lot, I'll be honest with you, they're not going to make sure he's safe. They're just going to, clobber him on the head, probably, if they find him. Oh, no, we certainly wouldn't want any harm to befall our little friend. Exactly, you understand. He's harmless, really. I mean, granted, he's always trying to escape, but, it's not a safe place for a goblin, these sort of places.
Yeah, it's almost like it would be better for him to be somewhere else.
Well, no, hang on, no, he murdered other places, poor thing.
He's a murderer.
No, he'd be murdered. It's a goblin, isn't it?
Yes.
And at this, you see the dwarf come forward and go, exactly. Doctor, I keep telling you, we should have fucking killed that thing long ago. Groody, your words are taken into consideration. You gotta forgive Groody, you know him. Dwarf goblins, they don't always get along, do they?
No, so humans often don't get along with humans.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's go and get in then, and honest to God, yeah, if you get this sorted, 5 gold crowns from me, all I need is to make sure he's safe.
Do we need to bring him to you, or just make sure that he gets out alive?
Yes, if you could. You familiar with catching goblins? They're very squirrely, you've got to be very stern with them sometimes. Food helps.
You gotta squeeze, and is that... no?
He just looks at you very confused. Squeeze?
I shake my head.
Not to detract from the question of squeezing goblins, perhaps it would help if we knew the circumstances under which your associate, your no doubt employee, disappeared.
Well, you saw he ran down the drain to the sewer.
I want to go back a little further in time from that, when he escaped your circus, you said?
Oh, yes. Well, you see, the problem was, at this point, the dwarf comes forward. The problem was the stupid thing in the middle of the show bit my hand and got out. Like I said, it should be dead already, but this idiot wants it as part of his fucking exhibition.
Oh, I do hope you got your hand treated.
I'm fine. A goblin won't be the end of me.
Just be aware that the mouth of any humanoid contains so many ways of gaining infection. I would hate for you to lose that hand. Maybe you will let me examine it after I'm out of the sewer.
Dwarf squints and remarks, "You like a proper physician or something? I haven't got the coin for that."
Oh, I would do this at no cost.
Huh. No cost. Huh. That you see, Groody, you see, there is kindness in everyone. Again, Groody, he's been with you for many years. He's a little bit, he's a little bit of a somber fellow, but honestly, he's got a heart of gold. I do not have a heart of gold. I have a heart of a dwarf. Yeah, I know. Anyway, friends, yes, so that's the truth of it. We were doing the exhibition as we normally do, and unfortunately, like I said, he gets very excited in crowds sometimes, and he just so happened to want to escape. He's done that a lot. I've only really had him for a couple of months, you see. It's a very marvellous specimen, eh? A 3-legged goblin. Who ever heard of that?
Uh-huh. I'm looking back to Siegfried. I don't have so much a stake in the relationship between species, but the way that these two were talking about the goblin, I'm starting to come around to her way of seeing the world.
Certainly, it doesn't sound very nice at all. Although, again, it's still an unusual situation, because normally when you hear about goblins, they are rampaging and murdering everyone. At least that's what you hear.
Well, let's prepare ourselves to descend into the town's assorted Schaffenfest sewage, shall we?
Yes, let's.
How grand.
In that case, Dr. Malpheus bids you a good evening, tipping his hat. They begin heading to their tent, as you are then led off by some of the watchmen back to that sewer grate, although this time you continue a little further and find a manhole cover. At this, someone is called out from the darkness. Oi, McGregor! McGregor, you got the bloody rope ladder! From the darkness comes another member of the watch. This one, though, is a lot older than the other two with you. Big grey beard, slight shuffle in his step. He's carrying a big rope ladder, and he smells of alcohol. Yeah, come in, boys. I've come in. Oh, bloody hell, getting the ladder out this time of night. Alright, you three, you heading down the sewers? There's the ladder. You put the ladder at the top. You go down. Make sure you don't fall in the main grates, and yeah, you go and find this beast.
Thank you. We know how to use a ladder.
The man looks at you, Siegfrieda, and he's about to say something in anger, you think, and then he just stops. He just starts staring at you quite intently.
I will quickly cover my face in case this is one of the guards from earlier that I just sent off on a merry chase. Who ultimately discovered the mauled body, I assume, of our good friend Adolphus. Right, let's get to it then, shall we, chaps?
The other guards help you put this ladder in place, open the manhole cover, and lower down this rope ladder. They then head off, remarking, Right, well, McGregor, you stay guard here. Make sure you guys come back this way. Good luck, I suppose. And they start heading off. Again, this guard just keeps staring at you as you start looking away, Siegfrieda. That smell, though. No, none of those guards were drinking. This guy's been drinking heavily tonight.
I swear, if an arsonist wanted to put this town to the torch, it would spread fast among the bodies, probably faster than among the thatched roofs.
I don't suppose there's any chance I was able to duck past the room again to put the hat somewhere safe?
No, there was not. Though you could quickly run off now and do it. Although it might look a bit unusual.
No, I'm just going to have to tuck it into underneath my jacket or underneath my tunic, whatever's under there. Oh boy. Well, gents, I'd say at this point that falling into the shit is our specialty. I liked it more when it was a metaphor, but I will gesture towards the open manhole.
Well, in we go. I take the lead.
The man, McGregor, quickly does hand you a few torches. And again, he just hands you one, Siegfrieda, and just again is staring at you, looking very confused. He almost mutters the next thing in a distracted way. Yeah, no, you watch out. Here's the torches. Be careful down there, miss.
Yes, we will, thank you.
Would you like to roll an intuition check, Siegfrieda?
I very much would. That is currently a failure, a big one, so I'm going to spend a point of fortune and try again.
Give yourself a +10 to this as well.
Okay, it would have still been a failure, but now it is a success. 35 out of 47.
The man looks like he's seen a ghost. He's looking at you almost scared and confused.
A creep among the city guard who doesn't know when to look away, probably because he's pissed as a fart.
Probably. He steps away and takes up a position, saying, I'll be here when you come back. Be careful, citizens. Yeah.
Well, we will try and exit the way we went in.
Yeah. So, did you say what your name was again, miss?
I didn't, I'm afraid. Right, let's go.
Alright, yes, of course. And he kind of just slumps. And then the three of you begin descending into the sewers. You reach the bottom, lighting your torches. You are met with the smell of sewage, refuse, feces, and rotting fruits and vegetables. You are standing on a small walkway right next to a line of sewage water. Across from that walkway is another walkway. The whole thing seems reasonably straightforward. It goes down, all the way to the left and the right. You would know from where you are right now, that the left is what leads to that sewer grate. Which way do you go?
Siegfried, I would hope, long shot. I don't suppose in any of the books you've read there was a chapter on goblin tracking?
No.
Very well.
And now that we are within the privacy of it being you two and I guess, as I say, a drunken town's flow of shit, I must voice my general... I don't think there's a word strong enough for expressing how I feel about what we are now doing. As someone who lived in what amounted to a slave capacity for the majority of my childhood, all of it, I suppose, into my teens until now, and as someone who has studied books on anatomy of goblins, and yes, they are very interesting. I've never cut one open myself, but I have seen that they can come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and regardless of how they may look on the outside, they still possess a brain, a heart, lungs, kidneys, the same things that make us up. The way this person is being treated, and the fact that we are potentially going to have to wade through disease-bearing feces to retrieve him for his owner. As I say, there isn't a word strong enough. I hope that just by expressing that brief platitude, you will infer my reluctance.
What about you, Kruger? How are you feeling? You do see Siegfrieda is stewing, and again, there's a point. Although then again, this is a very unusual situation. You've never heard of anyone pretending to work with or own a goblin. It doesn't happen, really. At least in your knowledge.
No, I've never seen anything like that before. My hope is that we will find some way of, getting what we need from this man, and at the same time perhaps letting this goblin escape to find happiness elsewhere. It doesn't seem like a good idea to leave him with his owner here to be tortured and be used for entertainment purposes. But I suppose the first thing to do is to find them. Being down here, it's probably dangerous, and, I suppose it gives us something to strive to do, and it does allow us to go underground for a bit, which might not be a bad idea, given what's happening up there and the people who are looking for us.
This is true, and that is indeed a good point. Maybe, after all, you were told to simply make sure the goblin was okay. There's nothing saying that you couldn't find the goblin okay, help it to freedom, and then just find a random bone and say, oh no, the goblin met a sad end. So as long as you find something down here after a certain amount of time, you could indeed assist this goblin.
That is an opportunity. We don't have to, give him back. He could perish down here, It would be very sad. I mean, there should be some back way out of here. We could allow him to get back to his life.
Well, exactly. I just feel that after delivering a pretty good speech about us seeking some kind of moral soul cleansing, us becoming hunters for a slaver is probably not the best way. And the fact that we're doing so through a river of shit is probably... I guess it just layers on top of the metaphor, makes it something I really should have written down. But let's find him, let's help him if we can, if he will accept our help. I imagine he's probably very much afraid. But in answer to your original question, no, I have no idea how one hunts a goblin down. I'm not a hunter, I have never hunted in my life, and let alone a sentient being who has the capability and know-how to hide, trick, mislead, do the kinds of things we would do if we were trying to run away from, I don't know, a cult or secret police. So I look to you two worldly gentlemen.
Indeed. Is there a way to try and track this being? I mean, 3 legs, somehow it feels like there should be some kind of tracks, but then again, it is a sewer, so it's not the best kind of ground for, well, tracking.
Certainly. Well, do you have the track skill to start with?
I do not.
Oh, these aren't the kind of rivers I'm familiar with.
In that case, I'm afraid it will have to be a perception check. -10.
Is that something we can all do?
Yes.
I'll give it an attempt.
To no one's surprise, Heinrich is not perceptive.
Likewise, I fail.
I too fail. Can I use a fortune here to reroll?
You can.
I will attempt to do that then. I really want to find this goblin, and I also want, given that I'm the one who sort of accepted this task now from this Dr. Malthius, I do feel a certain amount of responsibility for actually making this worth our while. Siegfried has made some really excellent points about the dubious moral nature to what we are doing here, and, well, yes, wading through shit wasn't exactly what I was planning on doing. So let's see if we can get through this quickly and make everyone happy. That's a 6 under 33s.
It's hard to see at first, but obviously as you begin venturing into the sewer and going to that grate, well, there is a stain. And obviously there's stains everywhere, but this one is green. There's a green little stain running just from the grate itself and running along all the way down, continuing into the dark to the left. A trail of something, some sort of snot or blood? It's weird-looking blood, though. Green.
I think it's bleeding. Tracks lead this way. Follow me.
You begin following, and after a bit of time, the green does become a more normal red. Again, you do think they do bleed, like other people. There's just strange green in it as well. You begin following the trail. Eventually, there's a turning. To the right, although that would require you to jump over the sewage to keep going down to the right tunnel. But your way goes left, and that is also the way the trail goes. You move along for about 5-10 minutes, every now and again seeing interesting sights, mainly sewage. But there's also occasionally doors. They're all locked, heavy wooden things, but there seem to be doors down here. Maybe they're people's cellars, you think to yourself? It's a bit strange, but maybe not that unusual.
I continue to look around for the tracks to see where it's ended up going. Is it gone towards any of those doors, or?
No, it goes past them. And now you see there's a bit of an obstacle ahead. There's a bunch of rubbish, brown, smelly rubbish, just kind of slightly piled up on the walkway. But you can see that something's disturbed it recently. Question is, will you go through it? You think you have to?
I think so. I'll take the lead.
Can everyone roll a athletics test, please?
Surely.
It turns out stalking people through the sewers is not my forte. I fail. I'm going to spend a fortune, if I may.
You may.
I've rolled a 44 under 49.
41 under 42.
I'm going to need to roll better than both of you. Let's see. Oh, on this occasion, a 15. A 15 out of 32.
All three of you begin wading your way through this pile of you don't even want to know what it is. However, you all do your best to kind of get through as quickly as possible, and no one gets stuck in anything, and no one cuts themselves. You notice, Siegfried, just as you depart, that there was a shard of glass in there that you almost stepped on. How's everyone feeling? You've just waded through some rubbish.
I can smell it in my own face right now. I've been around things that rot. I've lived a very provincial life, and this filth exceeds my wildest imagination.
On that note, could you roll an endurance check?
No, that is a 58 above 43.
Your stomach is beginning to churn. You kind of think you have a few seconds before it happens, but at least you'll be able to direct where it goes, you think.
So long as it's not on Siegfrieda or on Kruger, I mean, what's the worst that could happen? I might endeavor to expel into the actual stream as opposed to the walkway, but I would honestly be surprised if mine was the only vomit down here, so I'm not especially concerned.
Indeed, and vomit you do, for the second time this evening. It's rather unpleasant, and you feel very hungry now. That was the only food you'd eaten recently, and it's gone again.
Well, better out than in.
Mm-hmm.
If anything, it improves the general odour of the place, but let's keep moving.
You begin moving further in the sewers. At one point you hear a chittering sound, and a bunch of bats suddenly just fly overhead, but luckily nowhere near you and your torches. You then see up ahead there are some smaller sewage tunnels falling into this main tunnel. You're going to have to step over one of them. And as you do, you just notice to your left something very foul-smelling indeed. There is something blocking the sewage water. It's something in the tunnel just to your left as you're stepping over this opening, and it's blocking where the sewage should be flowing into the main river. And it smells awful, whatever it is.
Ugh. I don't want to get close to that. And the tracks, or whatever I'm following, it's leading away from that, right?
Nope, they go straight past it, so you'll have to go past this, whatever it is. Again, you don't have to look at it if you don't want to, but it's hard not to. In fact, is that a shoe? There's a shoe sort of just standing. There's a shoe just sort of floating, except it's not floating, it's attached to something. And it's right there to the left of you as you're passing this little smaller tunnel.
Oh, gods.
This would be an excellent place to hide a body, I suppose. Which is probably what someone has done. I look at what it is.
You shine your torch over the scene. There is indeed a body, bloated by sewage water, currently blocking the way. Perhaps it was shoved down here from somewhere further up the tunnel, you're not quite sure. And then you see a flash of red beard, and a placard, vagrant, and then you see the blood pouring from an open belly wound, and the entrails flowing out from within. Could you roll an endurance test, please, as you see this sight, Kruger?
That is 71 over 43. I failed badly.
You find yourself stumbling away from this sight, smelling the blood, smelling the rot, smelling the corpse, and you too are going to need to throw up somewhere nearby. As you do that, Kruger, Heinrich and Siegfried, you see this sight. A bloated corpse of a dwarf with very familiar-looking red hair in his beard.
Oh dear, it's not Godric, isn't it? Is it? The fellow we freed from the stocks? Was that his name?
Might be Siegfried. Hard to tell with some of the decomposition and the fact that his stomach is very, very open now.
He's only been down here a day, but I'll squat a little. I don't want to be sitting in anything, but I want to get a little more comfortable to examine. Let it out, Kruger. You know, not all of us have seen bodies with open wounds bathing in sewer water before. It's better to get it out of your system.
Thanks.
That's nasty. I mean, especially if he came down here alive to drown on it. Just imagine this effluvia filling your mouth and nose, and an open stomach wound.
Slowly reaching my hand up to Siegfried's mouth.
Would you like to roll a law medicine check?
Okay, yep. I get a 12 out of 58.
That is very good. Siegfried, granted you're not conducting a full autopsy.
I'm not pulling him out from the blockage that he has formed. I'm conducting an autopsy from a distance.
Indeed, but even you are trained, and there are things you can see with your eyes that already tell you many things. His stomach has been opened up, almost by some sort of sharp blade or claws. You think to yourself, something about the wound is very erratic, implying often associated with animal attacks.
Yeah, like a mauling.
Indeed. He himself has begun to bloat due to the sewage water, but yeah, you're right. He can't have been dead for more than a couple of hours at most. So that's happened very recently.
It's easy to mistake decomposition or mistake build-up of sewage as decomposition. I look to Kruger and Heinrich and I nod knowingly. The two do smell very similar. Although you should, like I am right now, wear some kind of mask over your nose and mouth, gentlemen, if you weren't already intending on doing so. You know the kinds of diseases you can pick up from gas clouds like the ones probably emanating from his abdomen right now.
Miasma, yeah.
No, exactly.
There's also something curious as you just sort of peek at his chest. That's been opened up a little as well, and you can just about see a bit of lung. And then it's more that you can't see something else. There's something that should be behind the lungs, but you can't quite see it, although, again, to actually investigate that, you would need to get your gloves out and poke around a little.
I'm already wearing gloves, don't worry. I weigh it up, as I weigh up every damn option in my life. Curiosity dictates I should try and pull this body to the side so that I can have a better look, but at the same time, the chances of then tumbling in or... What is it really going to tell me? I know he's dead. Something's mauled him. Probably taken his heart, which is unusual, I will confess. Most beasts aren't so selective over their internal organ consumption. I'm speaking aloud. I'm thinking aloud. And Gentlemen, do you think it's worth my having a poke around inside him, or... we're not sanitation... we're not city employees. I don't see the need for us to do the duty of dislodging this blockage. But he... If this is the dwarf we freed just earlier, or was it last night? Difficult to remember. I don't know that we owe him, but we do know him. And so leaving him like this doesn't really seem like the decent thing to do.
Yes, Kruger, as you look closer, you can almost find yourself remembering his last words. He was your man. He was indebted to you. He owed you everything. And now here he is, very dead.
I sigh, and I remember that he gave me a hug. It was kind of nice. I mean, he didn't smell nice, and he was obviously very inebriated, but still, he didn't seem like a bad person, just someone who ended up in a bad situation and had a disease, you know? But this is not the way anyone should have to end up. If we could, I don't know, if we could make sure he gets a proper resting place, that would actually be the decent thing to do. We did meet him and speak to him, and he owed us everything, he said, so perhaps we owe him this.
Well, let's not linger on any feelings of guilt. We had no way of knowing that he would somehow stagger from his tent to whatever befell him that led to his being here. But if we're going to pull him out, we're going to need a rope and something to hold on to, because if you just pull with your body weight and your feet planted on the floor, as soon as you dislodge him, that sewage is going to start moving and it could drag you in.
That is true.
And when I say you, I mean you. I'm not doing it.
Luckily, Heinrich, you are actually given a little bit of rope as part of your sewer splunking package with the torches.
Oh, well, lucky me. And additionally, I have seen how these two handle rope work and knots, so I do believe it will fall to me to extricate from the excrement our former friend. Although, at this point, have I seen the curious nature of the wounds on the chest?
You have. Granted, you don't see anything unusual about the chest area. You're not a doctor. But yes, it definitely looks familiar.
Yeah, so it's disgusting, but I appreciate Kruger's sentimentality. At this point, I'm worried that whatever killed him might lurk in the sewers. So, more information the better, and if that means hauling this thing out so Siegfrieda can Siegfrieda at him, then so be it. I am definitely 100% though going to reach into my jacket and hand her the hat.
You do so. Please make an athletics check, unless you have anything else more fitting, at a +10 due to using a rope here.
I don't think I have anything better, but that is a 13 under 49.
In that case, you are able to follow Siegfried's instructions, make sure you're tied to something, just in case, and with all your might, dislodge this body. As you do so, the sewage water begins to flow again, but you are able to step out of that quite quickly, and this body is now on the side, as the sewage is no longer blocked.
I'm not even getting close to pull the body. I'm going to hand over hand that rope and drag it across the ground, because I am imagining the spray and the foam coming off of this suddenly dislodged torrent is... I'm going to give that plenty of distance.
Not very nice at all, no. Siegfrieda, you now have a much better place to observe this body, if you wish.
Well, if you can hold some light over him.
I'll hold a torch over the body, and I look at Gottry with sadness. I mean, I feel responsible. I mean, even though Siegfrieda said we shouldn't do that, I did let him just pass out in that tent. I could have done more. I mean, I don't know that anyone can really be expected to have done more in a situation like that, but we did want to get rid of him. He was kind of a burden. I don't know, I just feel guilty somehow, even though I realize that it's unreasonable to think that we should have done more than what we already did. I just shake my head and I look at the body.
It's difficult, isn't it? Maybe if you had intervened more, maybe gone out of your way to see this dwarf somewhere safer, he might still be here, instead of this bloated carcass. Siegfrieda, you don't need to roll again. After all, you know what to do. Your assumptions were correct. The heart has been removed, but unusually, it hasn't been removed in a rough way. It hasn't been torn out. It looks like there's cut incisions here. Clumsy cut incisions, but still cut incisions.
Well, I tell the other two this, and add, so we can be assured of this. By the time he was in the muck, he was dead. I guess there's the unlikely possibility that the killer decided to get in with him, but I doubt it. So his body was deposited down here, I'm almost certain of that. And yes, something's gutted him, something that looks like a wild animal. And then, or before or after, probably before, someone has excavated the inside of his chest cavity and removed his heart with a knife. Or similar implement. It's not perfect work by any means, and I don't say this as any kind of master surgeon myself, but you can see where it's a little rough around the edges.
Due to your success levels, you're also pretty sure, your intuition says, yes, you think you got the order right. You think it would have been these chest wounds first, maybe that was the cause of death, the heart removal second.
Yeah.
Siegfrieda, I don't mean to continue to push into the realm of your medical knowledge, but is there any good reason to take the heart out after the fact?
Good as in ethical?
Sure, we'll go with that. But at this point, I'm already looking around us, torch in one hand, and I'll draw the rapier in the other. If there's something out here that takes hearts out, I'm not going to let it get a drop on me.
I'm very much trying to grapple with the idea. I want to come back with something smart. I want to come back with a good reason for it, and all I can really do is shrug, take my hand out of his chest, and say, some physicians like to preserve organs for experimentation. You know, it's useful if not that anyone has the proficiency quite that I know of to actually work on a heart directly. That tends to be the death sentence for whoever's on the table, but it's still a valuable learning tool. My former master had several in jars, but it seems to me more likely, given the fact that given the state of the body, I'm imagining less of a scientific desire and more of some kind of ritual desire. We know that, and I am purely making assumptions here, we know that there's a cult about the place, and I don't necessarily have to tie this to the Purple Hands to believe that there are individuals touched by chaos or driven by chaotic urges that may well feel that the removal of a heart is in some way a transferal of power. And so, again, I'm not an expert on this kind of occult nonsense, but I do know it goes on. I imagine that far more than I imagine some overzealous medical student has decided to remove his heart.
Kruger, could you roll me a perception check?
Certainly.
You think you suddenly hear something from somewhere?
Yes, but that is a 75 over 43.
You begin to hear a skittering sound, and you look around in panic. Is it coming from the small tunnel? From the big tunnel? You're not quite sure. Heinrich, you're there with Siegfrieda, and you notice them. Just from behind Kruger, emerging from the sewer water, come two large creatures. They're not massive, thankfully, but they're still the size of large cats. Rats. Very large rats. Beady little red eyes, sniffing at the air. They emerge out of the water and begin sniffing the air and then hissing as they rapidly begin approaching the body, but a body that you and Siegfrieda are right next to. What do you do?
I've already got my sword drawn. I'm not messing around with chaos-touched rats or weird miasma rats. Between what Siegfrieda said and what I've seen, I'm terrified of what this kind of place does to things. As far as I'm concerned, they're not coming for the body, they're coming for me, so I'm coming for them.
Indeed. In that case, let us enter our first proper combat. So, Heinrich, your weapon is ready. Two rats are approaching you. What do you do?
I am going to use my attack action first for a rapier strike. It's not dignified, it's more of a trying to lance meat than duel with an opponent, but the basic principle is still the same.
Then roll your attack roll versus my dodge roll.
I have 3 success levels.
Wonderful. How much damage does your rapier do?
So that's 3 plus 4 plus 3 for 10.
You dive forward and artfully skewer one of these giant rats straight through the chest, killing it instantly. Not bad at all. But sadly, the other one is active and it lunges at you, Siegfrieda. What do you do?
Well, if it's coming straight for me, I'm going to try dodging out the way. My skill in running things through with a dagger is far too low to attempt. So I will roll to dodge, and it's another failure. I will just have a quick look. I have spent all the fortune I can for this session.
Siegfrieda, you stumble to get out of the way of this bloody giant rat as it charges at you, literally falling down for a moment. However, you realize as you do so that the rat itself, so excited to bite you, kind of flies forward and scrabbles on you for a moment before falling off you. It clearly wasn't expecting you to fall over, and itself falls over, rolling around on the ground for a moment. It is now your turn. What do you do?
I have animal care. I don't want to start squeaking at the rat to pacify it, but I do want to see whether I have any kind of knowledge of what a rat might be drawn to other than kicking and screaming and stabbing humans. I mean, logic dictates we have a corpse here. If we shift it, the rats might go for it, but if you want, I can roll for that.
I would like you to roll animal care, then give yourself a +10 to that.
Well, that's far more like it. I get a 4 out of 61.
Well, it certainly is here for food, and it's probably very confused that the food isn't entering its mouth as quickly as it wants. So yes, you could totally just quickly... That plan you had earlier, now you have time to do it. You could quickly cut a bit of meat or shove the dwarf at this thing's face.
Best kind of meat is the wettest kind of meat. With my dagger, quickly lop off one of the lungs, because one of the pieces of intestine, because that's just hanging there, and throw it at the rat like a sausage.
And you do so. It begins ravenously trying to eat the meat.
Luckily, there's a lot of intestine there, so hopefully it'll keep it occupied.
Kruger, your turn. For the moment, this beast seems pacified, but you don't know for how long. What do you do?
I bring forth my short bow that I have had no reason to utilize up until now, and I will knock an arrow and try and fire at this rat, hopefully being able to scare it away if I can.
Indeed. Give yourself advantage. So that's +10 due to Siegfrieda's successful distraction of the rat.
That is 29 under 50. 3 success levels.
It fails to dodge as you shoot it. What is your damage?
It is 4, then plus the success levels on top of that, so that will be 7.
You aim and you fire, perfectly catching this rat in its eye. Your arrow goes funk, and the rat falls dead. Just like that, the battle is over. How are you feeling, Heinrich?
This is what I was made to do. No, I wasn't made to kill rats. So there's no need to celebrate, but I will look to my companions and see if Siegfrieda took a bite while I was busy.
Siegfrieda, it seems almost miraculous, but despite that thing briefly being on top of you and scrabbling about, you're fine. You haven't even got a scratch, just a bit of dirt.
Well, this pretty much sums the whole thing up, doesn't it, I say?
And finally, how are you feeling, Kruger? A good shot with your short bow, straight in the eye.
Yeah, I am quite pleased with that, actually. It's not the easiest target in the world to hit necessarily. It's a very difficult environment. Yeah, I feel quite good about myself. Let's see if we can now find this goblin. That's really it.
Indeed. The trail leads on into the darkness. Will you say to the others we should start heading off? After all, you don't think there's much more you can do for Gottfried. You could attempt to haul his body all the way out of here and back to the surface, but that may be something you might think of doing on the way back, because that would take a long time.
Indeed. I will actually want to do that when we return. If we return. We will return. But for now, we have a goblin to find.
And so the three of you head into the darkness of the sewers. Nothing but the light of your torches leading the way in the darkness.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this first part of the series, we are tackling Book 1, Enemy in Shadows. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Nastasia Raulerson, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Julián, Cameron, Xabier, and Antxon for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember, Skaven are definitely not real.